Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for possibly one of the most fearful or fearsome match previews I think I've ever made, to be fair. Chelsea are playing Manchester City in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge before, you guessed it, another game against Manchester City in the FA Cup third round. Chelsea this season, no matter what you say about Potter, Tuchel, players, or whoever you want to blame for where Chelsea are right now, you cannot blame anything but the gods for what we got in the League Cup, which was Man City away. What we got in the FA Cup, which is Man City away. So, two in the space of 4 days. What a joy that's going to be based off our current form, which is one win in our last 5 league games, or one win in our last 7. You look at Manchester City. They've got 3 wins in their last 5. They drew their last game against Everton, which, well, was a bit of a surprise when you look at how poor Everton were against Brighton in their 4-1 defeat last night. I wouldn't be surprised if, as a result of that, Frank Lampard is fired. However, there is one man who we've got to talk about in this video. I want to obviously talk about my Chelsea team that I think is the best team possible to try and go out there and get something in a game where, quite frankly, I don't think we're going to win this game. As a Chelsea fan, I do like to, on the whole, be optimistic. I do like to believe that Chelsea can do it even in scenarios where we don't think we should or form is against us. But we have beaten City twice in the last 5 encounters. We don't usually draw this kind of game against Manchester City. There's always one winner. And in the past, Chelsea have turned up when it matters. And I think with this one, it's an interesting one because with the Premier League the way it is right now, Newcastle are right up there. Arsenal are 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League table. But Arsenal will still be looking at Manchester City as their biggest rivals. I think we can rule Liverpool not only out of the title race, but maybe they can be in the same bracket as Chelsea when it comes to probabilities of them finishing in the top 4. So Chelsea need to give themselves every possibility to try and finish in the top 4, which means you can say that we've got to try and win this game. I think when you look at the table, Chelsea have got to win every game between now and the end of the season if we are to attain our objectives. Whereas Manchester City, they've only lost one of their last 25 away games in the Premier League, which is absolutely outrageous. And that was against Liverpool, I believe, in a 1-0 defeat. So, Manchester City, they do have Erling Haaland. And I want to talk about Erling Haaland for a minute here because he absolutely frightens the life out of me when we go into a game like this one, because this bloke, even when Manchester City this season are not being always at their scintillating best, and I think a lot of the reason for that is sometimes it can be hard to stay motivated 38 games, game by game by game by game, even with a manager like Pep Guardiola, even with that desire to win the Champions League. I've got to think with Man City, because they won it last year, you've got to think maybe in terms of that concentration with the Champions League being that important, there is always going to be off games for a team like City. Sometimes when teams go to City or teams are at home to City and you think, well, these are the best in the world. A lot of people think that about Manchester City. So teams turn up and give it everything. Chelsea have seen that before. When you're champions, you are the scalp that everybody just wants. But Erling Haaland, despite poor City performances at times this season, or despite not being good enough to win certain games that they've got to be winning, and the goal record is absolutely astonishing. To reach 20 Premier League goals in 14 games is nothing shy of sensational, phenomenal, blistering, brilliant, fantastic. He just is the striker that Chelsea should have gone out and spent however much money was necessary on in order to not end up with Romelu Lukaku. But we didn't. We've got no striker. I don't know who's going to play in striker for this game, but I have built my Chelsea starting 11. So without any further ado, we're going to make my team here. We're going to give my score predictions at the end. But if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to GBFC, because I do a series called 6 Things We Learn after almost every game. It will be every game between now and the end of the season, as I'm back on the channel. So hit the like button if you enjoy match previews, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. We begin with the goalkeeper. Mendy has been training but he's not going to be ready for this game. So Kepa maintains his place in goal. When we're talking about save percentages, Kepa's done very well this season. And I think because Chelsea defensively have been so poor, we've kind of been able to shine that light on Kepa for the quality goalkeeper that he is. And he keeps his place today. We move into a back four. And I think any team that we go with against Man City here, Chelsea are not going to be the favourites. City are going to be overwhelming favourites. But we've got so many injuries in this squad. And I think we've been calling, or at least I was calling, in the last game for Graham Potter to use more youth players, such as Chukwuemeka, Lewis Hall, and Amari Hutchinson. To throw them in a game where Chelsea need to be trying to go for as many wins as possible. In the Prem, I think this would be suicide for Chelsea to do this in this game of this magnitude against a team of this quality. So, with the FA Cup week coming up at the weekend, and that's away from home, we're not expected to win that, even less than we're expecting to win this Premier League game. So I think Graham Potter will stick with the same formation that we saw against Forest, because the whole chopping and changing has probably been one of the reasons why Graham Potter has not been able to get any stability in performances and consistency with good performances out of this Chelsea squad since he joined the club 4 months ago. So even though there's been a backlash from that Nottingham Forest game, I expect him to go with senior players in the majority and some kind of familiarity with a formation that we tried in that game against Nottingham Forest at the weekend. Of course, we've got so many injuries, so it's not all on Potter with the chopping and changing, but I think we've got to aim here for a bit of consistency. Moving into a midfield three, and I've gone with Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount, and Mateo Kovacic. I think Mateo Kovacic has got to be in there. Mount and Gallagher in a midfield three is debatable. We could see like a 4-2-3-1 with Kovacic next to Jorginho, with probably Aubameyang or Havertz as the main striker. But I've dropped Kai Havertz from this game because I think he's gone missing on too many occasions. Yes, there's always going to be in the back of his mind that goal that he scored against Manchester City, but I just think Aubameyang in behind maybe could be an opportunity here for Chelsea. If City are pressing high up the field, is there going to be an opportunity for Aubameyang to get forward and run? And is that pass to find him over the top going to come from a man who I've started in the attack? Ziyech and Sterling are my winners. Ziyech on the right, Sterling on the left in this game with Aubameyang through the middle. I do think a 4-2-3-1 is more likely, and I think Havertz playing instead of Aubameyang is also more likely. I'd like to see this lineup. I think you've got Industry in the middle with Conor Gallagher. Yes, he does get dispossessed far too often. Kovacic is the man who you can rely on in that middle, and I think Mason Mount, despite having good games then bad games, he was very good against Bournemouth and he was poor in the game against Forest. But Graham Potter always picks Mason Mount, and I think there won't be anything different in this game today against City. If Chelsea are beaten in this match against Man City, then I do think we might just take that game in the FA Cup as a free hit. We don't expect to win it, so we could see some senior players dropped because we don't want to have Chelsea constantly getting battered on the pitch, be that with like poor results like a draw against Forest, or being beaten by City and then you go out and do it again and then you expect the players to go out there again on Tuesday, Wednesday and win. I expect them to be giving everything for this game. I think this has become, even though Chelsea are not favourites, this has become a must-win. Every game is now a must-win if Chelsea are to get Champions League football next season without relying on winning the whole bloody thing again. Last time, we beat this lot to win the Champions League. However, I think this is going to be so tough. And my prediction, as much as I don't think I've ever done this on the channel, I do think City win this game. I do, because I just don't see anything from recent performances to suggest that without some of the best players that we've got in the squad, Kante, James, Chilwell, without these guys in the team, I don't think Chelsea are good enough. I really don't. And I've been trying to keep optimistic, but I need to bring an element of realism here to the channel at the moment, because the reason I didn't post so many videos towards the end before the World Cup was because I've fallen out of love with things a little bit. The whole Tuchel being sacked thing and Graham Potter coming in, results not being good, and it just became a bit overwhelming. And I'm fully back in it now because I want to back the boys. But I also think that in order for me to bring the best version of myself to this channel in terms of being like a pundit, I guess you could say, on the internet, I've got to bring a bit more realism into things. It's not pessimistic. I'm a very optimistic Chelsea fan. And I wouldn't be surprised if we showed up tomorrow and got a result. I wouldn't, because we've done it on so many occasions. But I think a 2-1 City is what I've got in my head. I really hope we get something. A draw, I'd take it. I say must win, and then I say I think we're going to lose. So it looks like I'm cloudy. I'll take a draw in this game. I think a draw would bring confidence to this Chelsea team. But anyway, let me know your starting 11 in the comments down below. Let me know your score predictions. Chelsea versus City. Has this come at a good time? City drawing at the weekend. Are they going to smell blood with this Chelsea team? Or is this when we want to be playing them? Let me know. Come on, you Blues.